I have a relationship with Kathy, which was independent of my relationship with you. I didn't want to get in the middle.
But you didn't know her that well.
Kyle,
I mean, it's not like you.
I had never spent time with Kathy with you.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 13, Reunion Part 1. And before we get started, first things first, a huge shout out and congratulations to Alexander Rogers, because the way I screamed when I went up to Peacock and watched the uncensored and extended version, and they played the full clip of when Alex asked about Teddy at BravoCon, I said, that's what I'm talking about. I said, Alex, you still have these women shook, especially Kyle, when BravoCon took place in November, and she is still pressed about your question. I said, talk about icon status. But y'all, without further ado, let's just jump right on into it, because as y'all can see, I have a lot to say, and you already know that we don't have a minute to spare. So we already know how it goes down when it's reunion day. They start early in the morning. So they all arrive to the studio at about 6:30 a.m. So now we see Erika walk into Dorit's trailer and she's like, hey girl, how are you doing? Dorit is visibly on edge. She says, well, you already know the drama between me and Kyle. We haven't talked in months. Then she texted me yesterday, pretty much trying to silence me. So we see this long text. I mean, Kyle wrote a damn novel. It's like, hey Dorit, how are you? I know it's been weird between you and I. We haven't talked in a few months, but I still love you and the kids and PK, but I had a rough year and blah, blah, blah. But pretty much keep your mouth shut about our issues here today at the reunion, and let's talk about it face to face, off camera the next day. So Dorit says, doesn't that feel manipulative for her to tell me not to say anything today? Because at the end of the day, we are at the reunion, and you have to bring it at the reunion and talk about what's going on. And I just said, Dorit, why are you acting so surprised? You were good friends with Kyle for 7 years. You've seen how she's treated other people in this group, former and current castmates. So now that it's your turn, now you're all shocked and appalled, and I can't believe Kyle, she's trying to silence me and manipulate this whole situation. Girl, again, this is Kyle Richards. She's always been like this, always been low down, always been very nice, nasty, always the victim. It's always somebody else. It's never her fault. So again, I don't know why you're acting so appalled and just so confused that Kyle is now trying to silence you. And Kyle, who do you think you are, expecting somebody to have your back and not spill all your dirt at the reunion when you haven't talked to them in months, and then you're out in the press talking about, oh, well, we never were that close anyway. She's saying that we were best friends. It wasn't that deep. We were never like that. So again, girl, you're over here denying me, but now you want me to have your back and not mention it? No. So now we see everybody arriving on stage, and Dorit is the last to join them because she had to get sewn into her dress. And Dorit was giving us Little Red Riding Hood. And it was so funny because Garcelles said, oh, okay, Mother Teresa. And did anybody catch that look that Kyle gave when Dorit came on the stage? It almost felt like Kyle was annoyed and also jealous that Dorit was getting the attention about her outfit. And one thing about Kyle always has to be center of attention. It really makes sense why her and Erika are now getting super close, because they're actually two sides of the same coin. But let me just say this, regarding everybody's looks, I didn't love the looks this year, if I'm being honest. Personally, I feel like a lot of these dresses missed the mark. I think the two best dressed were Crystal and Sutton. So of course, Andy Shady, he brings up how Erika said on Watch What Happens Live that she wants Kyle to be eviscerated at this reunion because she felt like she was eviscerated for the last 2 reunions because of the whole case and the scandal with Tom. So Kyle says, well, when I saw the headlines the next day, I did feel hurt, but Erika is a great friend. I trust her and I value her. And on top of that, I understood where she was coming from because you did get on her at the last 2 reunions and she just wants the same treatment for everybody, and I get that. So one thing about Erika, Erika is always going to play victim when it comes to this whole mess with Tom Girardi, her ex-husband. She goes on to say that she loves Kyle, they're great friends, and she values Kyle's friendship, and how she wasn't trying to be malicious towards Kyle, but she just said it because she was hurt. She goes on to add how the last 2 years have been hard because she lost everything on this show, and the last 2 reunions were also hard. And then she adds that it's not personal against Kyle, but that Kyle happened to be a casualty of her misplaced anger. One thing about Erika, Erika always has some misplaced anger and hurt. Do you notice that? It's always about her feelings and how somebody slighted her, and it's never about anybody else. Again, that's why her and Kyle get along so well. They both play the villain and the victim at the same time, and they do it well. But anyhow, Andy wants to know if his questions were out of line, and then he says, do you feel like my questions to you were unwarranted? So Erika's like, well, I wouldn't say that, but you definitely tore into my ass. You were hard on me. And Andy says, I mean, again, do you feel like I was out of line in asking those questions? And if I'm being honest, Erika, Andy was easy on you, especially in the season 11 reunion. I felt like at that reunion, you were defensive, you were cold, there was no remorse for the victims, no sympathy, no empathy. And you were angry at Andy, you were cursing at him, you were livid. So to hear you say, oh, Andy, you were so hard on me, you tore me up, you ripped me a new asshole, you were just horrible. I'm like, on what planet? Because when I watched that, I felt like Andy was way too easy on you. You got away with a lot. I felt like there were questions that he left on the table. The thing with Erika is she expects you not to say anything. So if you say anything to her, it's going to feel like the end of the world because she wants you to be quiet. And then Erika saying that even though it happened a few years ago, it still stings. Andy just looked at her like, girl, I'm not apologizing to you. This is my job. And if you don't want to be questioned, then leave the show. And when Erika said, we're all human at the end of the day, and it's a hard spot to be in. Obviously, it's not that hard because you ladies sign on for every season. If it's so hard, then why don't you leave the show? Let's stop playing these games. These women talk so much about how they don't know if they want to come back. The show's too hard, all this drama. They're so tired. But I see you guys still sign on for the next season. Y'all hang on to this show until the wheels fall off because we see how y'all act when you get fired. You can't take it. You go off the deep end. Then you want to sue Bravo and NBC. Leah McSweeney from New York, I'm looking at you, sis, because that makes no sense. For you to act like Bravo forced you to drink, you're a grown woman with autonomy and free will. Nobody forced you to do anything. It just sounds like it's sour grapes to me that you're no longer on this show. Because when you're on the show, Andy can do no wrong. You love him. He's the best. Now when you're fired and your show gets rebooted, now you want to sue the network? Like, you sound crazy. But Erika, miss me with all that. It's a hard spot to be in because I'll guarantee you that you will sign up for season 14 to get that check. So now Andy changes gears and he wants to know, how does Dorit feel hearing Kyle say that her and Erika are now great friends? When it comes to this whole Dorit versus Kyle, I'm on Dorit's side because Kyle, you are full of it. So Dorit says, well, hearing that Erika and Kyle are so close now, I'm a bit stuck on that, especially hearing that Kyle is hurt about me saying stuff to the press when she's the one talking to the press and saying that I was out here exaggerating our friendship. So Kyle jumps in, she's super defensive, and she says, well, I said that because of all the things that I was seeing being said about me throughout the season. So Kyle gives these weak examples, and I said, girl, you are really reaching. Because Kyle, for you to act like Dorit mentioning your marriage earlier on in this season is the reason why people were putting it in the headlines about you and Mauricio, you need to stop. There had already been rumblings about you and Mauricio before Dorit said a word. Also, you're out here gallivanting with Morgan. You played her love interest in her music video that gave very much Pornhub vibes if you watched it. So I said the gall for you to try to pin this on Dorit and act like Dorit is the cause of all your marital issues being out in the public. Kyle always wants to blame somebody. Can you ever just take ownership? It's aggravating. And what really got me was you were talking out two sides of your face. For you to downplay your friendship with Dorit and then in the next breath say, well, I still love you. You're very important to me. Which one is it? Are we close or are we not? And I was so happy that Dorit clocked her on it because Kyle is full of BS and she knows it. And that was so evil of Kyle to say, Dorit, how many times have we actually had lunch off camera? Dorit was like, girl, what? Are you serious right now? And now Andy's like, wait, I thought that you guys hung out all the time off camera. So now you have Kyle stuttering. And I said, Kyle, why would you even lie like that? We've seen pictures of you, Dorit, Mauricio, and PK out to dinner all the time. You guys have had dinner dates. You guys have had lunch dates. You and Dorit are super close. You guys celebrated Passover and Hanukkah together because you guys are both Jewish. Kyle, you've even said that you consider Dorit to be a sister. You've said that multiple times. So again, that's a real slap in the face to now act like, well, we're not that close and we only hang out during filming, when that's a bold-faced lie. If I were Dorit, I would have cursed you right out because, girl, I understand if you and I aren't close right now, but one thing about it, there are plenty of people that I no longer am friends with, but I would never deny that at one point we actually were close. I don't have to be your friend now to still acknowledge that, yes, once upon a time, we actually did have a close friendship. So Kyle continues on with the BS, saying that her and Dorit don't have that type of friendship because she likes to wake up early in the morning and go on these hikes. And I said, Kyle, you just now became this outdoorsy type girl. You were never giving that back in the day. You love to party and drink like everybody else. Now, since you've done a whole lifestyle change, you're trying to act as if you've always been that way. That's not the truth. And for you to try to play Dorit like that, because Dorit said, but Kyle, you've never asked me to go on a walk with you and your other friends. I would love to. So Kyle's like, well, no, that's not true because the last time you went out on a walk with me and my other friends, you couldn't hang. You had to sit down on the concrete. And I said again, that's why when you deal with folks like Kyle, you need to always have a side eye because Kyle is somebody who will throw you under the bus in a minute. Why are you now trying to throw out that Dorit couldn't hang with you and your other friends? That was so evil to me. And that's why LVP needs to come back on this show because LVP was somebody who did not let Kyle breathe. She made sure that Kyle would get it again and again and again.
And you're gonna always get it again and again and again.
So Kyle is being dismissive. She says, you know what, Dorit, I love you very much. That's all that matters. And Dorit says, I want to believe that, Kyle, but I know how you are. The minute you feel slighted, you distance yourself and you punish people. And I feel like you're still punishing me. So, of course, Kyle doesn't respond to that. And now Andy jumps in and he says, well, hopefully you guys can come to a resolution and get your friendship back on track. Personally, I'd be done with Kyle if I were Dorit. We could be acquaintances, associates, social friends. When I see you, I'll say, hey, we make some small talk, but it would never go back to the way it was. Because for you to try to play me like this and now you want to downplay our friendship and you're saying that I'm the cause of all your issues now, there's nothing else to talk about. You have one time to play me and it's shout out to everybody, I have fun.
Oh! Shout out to everybody, I have fun.
I gotta be good.
So we get off of Dorit and Kyle and we jump to Garcelles. Now, this is the moment I was waiting for. Andy brings up how Garcelles said earlier on that she does not trust this group with her sons, and Dorit took offense to that and got angry. Now, we already know that Dorit is about to put her foot in her mouth, and she did just that. Dorit, all you had to say at this point was, I'm sorry. Garcelles is correct. She has every right to feel how she does because her sons were disrespected. Period. The end. But you still have Dorit sounding so dumb. And she says, well, we're all mothers, and it was just really hurtful to hear that a friend doesn't feel like she can bring her sons around this group. That's all I'm saying. And the way Garcelles clocked Dorit effortlessly, she said, well, Dorit, it hurt me to watch my friends laugh at my 14-year-old son being cursed at by an adult. So let's call it even. I said, get her again, please.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
Because again, Dorit, you sound so crazy to even act like your feelings are justified. You and PK sat up there laughing, slapping five, having a grand old time about a 14-year-old boy being disrespected by Erika Jane. Erika is 51 years old and she cursed out Garcelles' son, who is a minor. There is nothing funny or acceptable about that. And you need to be so thankful that Garcelles did not go upside your head, because I know a lot of mothers who would have knocked out teeth had somebody done that. So I don't know why you're still holding on to the hurt that you felt, that Garcelles is still holding a grudge. She has every right to. And let's not even play these games, because we all know, had the shoe been on the other foot, had Garcelles cursed out one of your babies, it would be World War III. You would be wanting Garcelles' head. So Garcelles says, once again, Dorit, it just felt like you didn't honor my feelings. You turned it back around and made it all about how you felt and your feelings. And again, I'm the one who has the right to be upset because of what happened to my child. So you have Dorit saying that it feels like Garcelles is holding a grudge. And I said, Dorit, you're going down the wrong road. Just apologize and let's move on. This should not even be a discussion. You were wrong. You, Kyle, your husband, Mauricio, Erika, y'all were all wrong. There's nothing more to discuss. Dorit and Garcelles are still going back and forth. Dorit is being willfully obtuse. And then she says, honestly, Garcelles, I was just sad to hear that you were still sad. So now Crystal jumps in and she says, well, Dorit, why didn't you just say that then? And I said, Crystal, are you surprised? It's Dorit. Dorit can never make her point clear. She always has to go around and around and around and talk in circles. So now Andy reads a viewer question directed at Garcelles. And the question reads, Garcelles, if you don't think that Dorit is racist, then why did you call her an unconscious Karen? What's the difference? So Garcelles says, yeah, I don't think that she's racist, but she's definitely unaware. And then she brings up how Dorit used the word attacked when they were at Crystal's Taco Tuesday party. So you have Dorit jumping in and she says, well, obviously I don't know all the words to say, but Garcelles, you know my character, so judge me off of that. And no offense, Dorit, but I don't know if you want us to judge you by your character, because you're always putting your foot in your mouth. All I'd be saying is, Garcelles, you're right, I was wrong, and I'll educate myself and stop being so ignorant. That's what needs to come out of your mouth. But again, you enjoy hearing yourself talk. There's a lack of accountability, a lack of ownership. So you just can't bring yourself to say, you know what, I was wrong. I'll do better. So Garcelles says, Dorit, let me explain it to you like this. You were attacked by strangers in your house, right? You were robbed, held at gunpoint with your kids in the next room, correct? You know what it is to actually be attacked. So when you say that I'm attacking you when we're having a conversation, I'm confused because you know what an actual attack is. And Dorit was sitting there doing the mute challenge. She had nothing to say. I said, girl, why are you so quiet now? Now, Annemarie, Miss 8.5, the way you should have sat there and just ate your food, because Miss Mamas, you wanted a moment so bad and it flopped. So Annemarie jumps in and she says, may I just say something? When we were at Sutton's store anniversary party, when me and her were talking, she said, stop yelling at me, when I clearly was not yelling at her. So she goes on to say that she's a black woman too, and what Sutton did was weaponize a black woman's anger. And she goes on to add that Garcelles didn't even defend her, and how Dorit was the only one who stuck up for her. So obviously Dorit can't be racist. So Garcelle's like, really? You really want to play this game, Annemarie? And also, you're a grown-ass woman. You can defend yourself. Andy was like, okay, that's cute, I guess. But let's go back to talking about Dorit and Garcelles. Andy was like, next. So we get back to the argument that we actually care about. And Dorit says that Garcelles threw out accusations that are very damaging. So Garcelles says, well, girl, you did the same to me, labeling me as angry and saying that I attacked you. That could change somebody's perception of me and how they view me as a person. So Dorit's still trying to justify her actions by saying that the word attacked has been used in this group so many times. And Garcelles says, yes, I understand that, but you said that word to me. And there's a different connotation when you say it to a black woman, and it's the truth. So now Dorit goes on to bring up how Garcelles insulted her by saying that she lives in a bubble. And Garcelles says, you do live in a bubble. And now Crystal jumps in and says, but you actually posted another picture with that same caption. So you have Dorit saying that that's a different caption because that caption says she lives in her love bubble. So that was her clearing it up. I said, Dorit, you could make things so much easier for yourself and for the viewers and for your castmates if you would just cut the BS out and just own up to stuff and don't drag it out. Stop trying to justify your piss poor actions. You would become so much more likable if you would just take accountability and really vow to do better. It's all these excuses and then we finally get some half-assed apology, and that's just not going to cut it. And I loved how Andy stepped in because Dorit wouldn't stop. He goes on to say that two things can be true at the same time, but in situations like these, it's better to be quiet and listen. And I said, Dorit, if you would get your head out of your ass and just shut your mouth and listen to what Garcelles and Crystal have to say, you'd be much better off. Now, I thought Dorit was being dramatic at this point. She goes on to ask Garcelles if Garcelles likes her. Garcelles says sometimes, and then she goes on to ask Garcelles if Garcelles has a problem with her. And Garcelles says, well, clearly it's something about you because we're always getting into it. And now Dorit goes on to ask if Garcelles wants to work through their issues. And Garcelle's honest. She says, I'm not sure. And yeah, I wouldn't be sure either. Garcelles, if you're watching this, my suggestion for you, I think you should keep Dorit at an arm's length. You can be cordial, hi, bye, small talk, how are the kids, how are you and PK, and leave it there. But I wouldn't attempt to have this close friendship. I think until Dorit can show that she's trying to educate and better herself, that's when you guys might be able to have a real friendship. But until that day happens, I would say just keep it cool, keep it cute, keep it cordial, hi, goodbye, how are you, and that's it. Now, because they're talking about racism and microaggressions, Andy wants to switch topics and lighten the mood, so he brings up all the sex talk during this season, and I thought it was really funny when Andy asked about Kyle, how she's been seen out with a woman now, and all these rumors swirling around, how she's fake scissoring Dorit. What's changed now? But Kyle says that she's changed as a person, she's changed her viewpoints, and how growing up, her mom taught her and her sisters that there was only like one way to do things, and that was pretty much be straight, marry a man, have kids, and now she's ready to explore. She says that she's open-minded, and you never know what's going to happen. So Sutton jumps in and she says, I just want to say on behalf of everybody that no matter what you choose to do, Kyle, we'll all be supportive, no judgment over here. If you like it, we love it. Garcelles co-signs, and you have Kyle just sitting there. She's kind of in shock, but you could kind of tell that she was happy to hear that, because it seems like with Kyle strikes me as she's nervous about what everybody else has to say about her lifestyle choices. That's what it's giving. I feel like the real reason why she's pussyfooting around, no pun intended, but I feel like she's dancing around this whole subject about her sexuality and what's really going on with her and Morgan. I feel like it's because she's afraid of what everybody's going to think. That's what it feels like to me. So I think Sutton's saying, girl, no matter what you want to do, no matter who you want to do, we support you, we love you, it's all good, it's no judgment over here. But in the same breath, if this were somebody else on the cast, would Kyle be so supportive, or would she be messy? Because we know how Kyle is. Kyle will poke and prod when it comes to somebody else's business. So I can only imagine how she'd be acting right now if somebody else were in the same boat as her, where they were on the outs with their husband, they're seen with the woman, they're talking about having sex with women when they've always been known as straight. So I can only imagine what she would be saying if the tables were turned. So now it's time for Annemarie's segment, and I just said, Lord have mercy. Let me brace myself, because I already know I'm about to be annoyed, especially when we get to the part about Sutton's esophagus. So anyhow, Andy starts it off with the whole 8.5 rating by her husband, and she's laughing, saying, well, you know, me and my husband are best friends. We say anything to each other. We joke around. And I said, girl, I guess. And it's funny because I saw a recent interview that she did a few weeks ago, and she's now backtracking, saying that her husband never said that. He said, no, babe, you're a 10 in all areas, but it's only when you get upset or frazzled, that's when you're an 8.5. I said, girl, it's too late to try to change it up now. You proudly stated that your man said you were an 8.5 in looks and body and all that, so wear it proudly. Girl. So Andy brings up how Annemarie's mom just passed away. He sends his condolences, and we find out that Annemarie's mom's name was Jane, and how she had a horrible cough. Annemarie took her to the doctor, and they found this 8x7 tumor, and she just passed away. So Annemarie's crying, and they're like, this happened during filming? And she says, yes, it was a really hard year. First things first, my sincerest condolences to you and your family. I can only imagine how you feel. But you were actually dealing with a real life issue. Your mother was sick while you were filming this show. And instead of focusing on that and letting us in on your real life story that would have been very endearing and very touching to millions of viewers, you chose to focus on Sutton's esophagus and then fighting with Crystal. And that's why I say these women are too concerned with getting on this show and trying to be somebody's mouthpiece and being the tough girl and trying to have these one-liners, and then they flop. You did yourself a disservice not sharing your real story. We had to find out in the after show, I think, 3 episodes ago, episode 14 or 15, that you were adopted. You told your whole story about that, about how your birth mother closed the adoption, didn't want you to find her. Again, you would have actually won and found favor with the viewers had you come in just being real and giving us your real life. So now Andy brings up how the majority of the fans didn't like her, and he wants to know, how did she feel knowing that? So Annemarie says that being an athlete, she's used to criticism, but the fans not liking her, she internalized that, and it was really hard. And I said, again, had you just come on this show being yourself and giving us your real story, I think that you would have had a fighting chance. I really do. I really think that we actually would have liked you. but you came out the gate wrong. And y'all know I love Wendy to death from Potomac, but let's call a spade a spade. That was Wendy's issue when she joined the show. Her first 2 seasons were a bit rough because she was trying to give us a persona. She was really worried about what the fans were saying about her, and she internalized that. And I feel like she's just now coming into her own and being herself season 8. But it took her a while to get it together. And I feel like Annemarie, if you do get the chance to come back for season 14, just be yourself. Cut the BS, cut all this phoniness, cut the act, be yourself, and I think that you might fare a bit better. So here's where things get spicy. Andy asks Annemarie what were her first thoughts when she met Crystal. So Annemarie says, when I met Crystal off camera, she was awesome, she was amazing, but on camera, a completely different story. I say, here we go. I say, here we go. It's about to go down. So when Andy turned to Crystal and he asked her about, you said to Garcelles that Annemarie told you when you guys first met that she was a doctor, and you're saying that she's not, I said, oh, Crystal has been waiting for this. And the way Crystal had all her receipts, honey, she was ready. So Andy says, anesthesiologist and anesthetist. Did I say that right? I feel like I can never say that word correctly. But he says that the words are very similar. And is it possible that Crystal misheard Annemarie? So Crystal says no, because when I met her, she told me she was an anesthesiologist. And I said, oh, that's so funny because my sister is an anesthesiologist and she has a private practice at Cedars. And then you said, oh, I'm a nurse and anesthetist and people don't know the difference. I'm not going to hold you. I believe every word out of Crystal's mouth. I do believe that Annemarie lied and said that she was a doctor to maybe seem more impressive. I don't know, but I believe Crystal. And I felt like Annemarie was making herself look even more guilty because when she said, well, let me tell you the real story. When I met Crystal, I said, oh, hi, what do you do? And she said, oh, yeah, I'm a housewife. Crystal jumped in so fast. She said, girl, you a lie and the truth ain't in you because I never said that. I don't even talk like that. So let's not even do that. And Annemarie wasn't fooling me with all that. I'm not going to talk over you. I'm not going to yell, Crystal. I'm not doing that. I said, yeah, because you're guilty. And you know that she's telling the truth. So now you want to pin it as Crystal's just angry and she's lying on you and you just have so much class that you can't be bothered to yell. Yeah, right. Let's not play these games because honestly, if you were so classy and didn't like to yell and argue, you wouldn't be on this show. Crystal was activated. She must have heard our cries about how boring she's been this entire season because she was on it. She said, sweetheart, you have been proven to be a liar, so let's not. You're the same woman who insinuated that Sutton had an eating disorder and then tried to pin it on me like I said it. So here goes Annemarie with the dramatics saying, oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. I said, girl, because you're caught. And that's another reason why the fans don't see it for you because you have a hard time owning up to what you say. So now Andy wants to settle this with the group and he goes on to ask everybody, who do they believe, Crystal or Annemarie? So Erika says, I already knew Annemarie's title. Then Kyle says, I thought she was a doctor, so I could see why there's some confusion. And this is how I know that Annemarie is guilty because she kept trying to resort to, Crystal keeps downplaying my profession. She's trying to belittle me and what I do. And they were all like, no, she's not. And I said, Annemarie, stop. We're not buying this. We're not falling for it. It's clear that Crystal's telling the truth. You've been caught. And now you want to turn it on her like she's the one in the wrong. She's not. Crystal is simply saying, don't say that you're a doctor when you're not. That's all. And the way Crystal got more and more activated, she said, girl, you were the one weaponizing your profession when it came to Sutton and her esophagus. So let's start there. And to add insult to injury, Andy jumps in and he goes on to question Annemarie about why was she so invested in Sutton's esophagus. So Annemarie says that the way it was presented to her was odd, but looking back and seeing how she behaved this season, she's embarrassed and she wants to apologize to Sutton because it wasn't her place and it wasn't her business. So Sutton clears it up that she wasn't upset about her esophagus. She was upset at how Annemarie was talking behind her back and then made the comments about her having an eating disorder. And then she goes on to say that it's a lesson learned and how they all make mistakes in this group and how it's okay. Now, I think that Sutton is a class act. She forgives very easily because I don't know if I'd be able to forgive that quickly when you accuse me of having an eating disorder, you're talking about my health issues, making fun of them. We'd have an issue. And then to do that on national TV at that, I don't know. But I said again, Sutton is a class act. And Annemarie, let this be a lesson for you that next time, give us your real story. Don't come on here trying to get on the bandwagon to bully somebody else because you see what happened. You came for Sutton and it was a huge flop. You got a whole bunch of backlash. People don't want you back on for season 14. I don't know. It looks like it's going to be a chop for you. I don't know if you will come back. You're at the end of the couch, which always signals that you probably will be getting the pink slip. But girl, if you do make it by the grace of God for season 14, I hope you do a complete 180 and give us your real personality and your real story. Please. Now remember, I watched the extended and uncensored version, so we see them taking a mini break. And Kyle says, oh my gosh, Andy, did I ever tell you when LVP met Crystal, she asked, is Kyle still on the show? And Crystal said, yes. Can you believe her? And I said, Kyle, I don't really believe that LVP said that. I don't think that LVP is checking for you at all. Also, sis, Lisa Vanderpump knows that you're still on the show because she has her own show on Bravo, Vanderpump Rules. She sees the promo, she sees you at BravoCon, so she knows that you're on the show. It just feels like you want an excuse to talk about her. Now, if you thought Crystal was activated during Annemarie's segment, we get to Crystal's segment, and it is Crystal 2.0. So, of course, we started off kind of slow. Andy brings up how Crystal made mention of how she keeps focusing on the other women being so thin. And Crystal says, yeah, it's triggering because you guys know my struggle and I've been dealing with this since I was 11. And now Andy segues into how Crystal called Annemarie a bitch at the Homeless Not Toothless Gala. So Crystal says that she was triggered because Annemarie was sitting up there accusing Sutton of having an eating disorder. And she's like, that's the last thing I would ever say about somebody, knowing my history. So that's why I got so angry. So now Crystal turns to Annemarie and she says, and by the way, are you ever going to apologize to me for telling Sutton that I was the one who said she has an eating disorder? And instead of Annemarie saying, I'm sorry, Crystal, you didn't deserve that, all Annemarie can say is, Sutton, neither one of us think that you have an eating disorder. And I said, girl, that's all well and good. You still owe Crystal an apology. Period, point blank. Knowing that Crystal struggles in that area, and she shared that many times on this show, for you to accuse her of saying that about somebody else on this cast, you definitely owe her an apology. So here's where it gets really messy. Andy wants to know from the other women, what do they think about Annemarie's accusations of Crystal allegedly saying that they're shallow and fake and uneducated? So Kyle says, well, I did believe them because Crystal has intimated in the past that we're not that bright and that she uses big words that we don't understand. So Crystal jumps in trying to defend herself. Now you have Annemarie interrupting, and I said, now hold on, sis, because you're the same woman all reunion long. It's been, don't interrupt me, I'm talking. So give Crystal the same courtesy, please. So Annemarie says, well, Crystal, you've been caught not telling the truth. And Crystal says, girl, I would not throw rocks at a glass house because you've been caught several times not telling the truth. Be careful. I said, oop, not be careful. So Annemarie really thought she ate. She brings up all the drama that Crystal's been involved in past seasons. She's like, and last year you accused Sutton of being racist and turns out that wasn't it. And then you lied about 14 friends. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of your system of lies. Crystal said just as calmly as could be, girl, don't worry, you aren't a part of it. I said, get her again. Also, Annemarie, this is why I will always call you a fan. Because why are you bringing up drama from seasons past when you weren't on the show? This is your first season. So the only drama that you need to reference is the drama that happened in season 13. You sounded ridiculous. And that didn't even make any sense. It didn't land because what did that have to do with anything? And I have a theory. I feel like Annemarie was probably bugging Crystal to get her on this show when they first met 2 years ago. She probably felt like, well, damn, I met Crystal all these times at these holiday parties. She still won't put me on. What do I have to do to get on the show? And that's how she befriended Kyle, going to all those agency open houses, bought a house down the street from Kyle to get on this show. It feels very strategic, but Miss Mama's Crystal got you all the way together, and I loved every minute of it. And I also feel like you probably did lie to Kyle and Crystal about being a doctor because you thought that it might be a bit more impressive and that might be another way to get you on this show. Just my theory of what I think really went down. But that's why I feel like that's the real reason why Annemarie has the smoke for Crystal, because she probably wanted Crystal to get her on this show. And Crystal peeped how desperate and thirsty she was. So now Andy turns to Dorit and he's like, Dorit, why were you so upset hearing that Crystal said you guys were uneducated? It seems like you felt the most slighted by that comment. So Dorit says, well, I think I'm the only one here with a college education. The way Andy said, girl, are you serious right now? You have Annemarie sitting there like, really? So she's like, oh my gosh, please forgive me. So now Sutton raises her hand and she says, girl, I'm very educated. Like, I graduated from college. We know that Crystal did. I said, Dorit, your head is in the clouds for you to say that you're the only one on this cast with a college education. Dorit really thinks that the sun rises and sets on her. It's clear. Very self-centered. Now, Dorit, if you thought that Crystal was going to apologize to you for calling you guys uneducated, baby, guess again. Crystal said, I stand by my comment that you're uneducated when you called me a child bride. So, child, I said, Crystal, I am seated. I am here. Let Dorit have it. And that she did. Crystal wasn't playing. I said, baby, this is Crystal's time to shine, and she did not disappoint. Crystal says, what a disgusting thing to say. So, of course, instead of Dorit apologizing, it's backpedaling, all these excuses. She says, but Crystal, they called Priscilla Presley a child bride. Crystal was not here for it. She said, baby, I'm not talking about Priscilla Presley. We're talking about me. I'm an Asian woman, and when you say things like that about Asian women, that's the equivalent to saying that we're mail order brides. How dare you? So Dorit tries to brush it off and she says, well, now I know it was just a throwaway comment. I said, girl, it was not a throwaway comment. The way you were all lit up in your confessional, angry, trying to shade Crystal about that comment, it obviously meant something to you. A throwaway comment is like a silly joke. That was said with some venom in your heart when you called her a child bride. So again, girl, stop with the backpedaling and just start being honest and say, you know what, I effed up. I shouldn't have said that. Crystal, I'm sorry. But you have so much pride and your ego so big, it won't allow you to just own up and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And see, I'm really petty because I would have pointed out how Kyle got married at 18. So Dorit, how are you calling me a child bride? Let's not do that. And now you have Kyle trying to defend Dorit. She says, no, but I make jokes like that too. When somebody's super young, I say, oh yeah, they got married when they were 12. I said, Kyle, now is not the time. Just sit there and just be quiet, okay? Please, we're not trying to hear you defend Dorit and her ignorance. The way Crystal ran down her resume, I said, this is what I want to see. Crystal says, you want to say I got married at 12? I got married at 24. I had already graduated college, and I have a business that's worth $100 million. So check that. I said,
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
and Dorit, what do you have? Beverly Beach? Where is it? Where's that bridal gown line that you had last season? Remember that? Where is that? You were charging 35,000 American dollars for those flimsy gowns. But you want to talk about how educated you are when meanwhile back at the ranch, Crystal's coconut water business is doing so well, Miss Mamas doesn't even need to advertise it on her show. She's not trying to have Bravo take out their 10% cut. Crystal has that money where whether Rob leaves or stays, she's going to always be good. Her money is really long. You, on the other hand, we don't know if your American Express works. You're over there allegedly reselling your things on Poshmark. Girl, I would pipe down if I were you. That was the epitome of don't play with her. She is not one of them. Crystal, let it be known. We are on two different levels. We are not in the same league. Baby, you could never. And don't you ever sit up there and throw out a microaggression like that again. It was official. Crystal found her voice. It's not going anywhere. And she solidified her spot, in my opinion, for season 14. Because that was a master class in reading. That was flawless. Crystal, 10s across the board. You did that. So now we close out the first part of this reunion with Kyle's segment. So Andy's asking Kyle about the distance between her and Dorit and where their friendship stands and how did things get so fractured. So Dorit starts it off by saying that she really wants to discuss this because she wanted nothing more than for Kyle and Kathy to get back on track as sisters and to get along again. So she's just surprised that after last year's reunion, things went left between her and Kyle. Now, Dorit goes on to add that she and Kathy did have a relationship independent of Kyle. So Kyle snaps and says, no, you guys weren't that close. And also, you met her at my party. I said, Kyle, my God, you act so territorial over your sister. And I mean, I get it to a certain extent, but you've got to stop acting like you own people and that you're the only person who could be friends with everybody, but they can't be friends with your family. That's very annoying. But we know that Kyle is still salty about Dorit chiming in at last year's reunion, saying that Kathy just wants Kyle to acknowledge her part in their relationship being fractured. So you have Kyle making herself out to be the victim yet again. She says, I was just surprised because I would tell you stories about what Kathy had done to me and you were disappointed in her behavior, so it felt like you switched up. So Dorit says, yes, I was upset to hear things that she had done to you in the past, and of course, Kyle doesn't want to talk about that, so now she wants to change the topic. And I said, Kyle, you're the one who brought this up. You're the one who's angry at Dorit. So now Dorit can't say anything about it? It just makes no sense. I think that being friends with Kyle is tiring, exhausting. It almost feels like you're walking on eggshells because at any moment she's going to be upset with you. And my biggest issue with Kyle, she is one of those people where she wants all this blind loyalty, but when it comes to her defending anybody else, she's not there for them. So now Kyle says that when everybody was super supportive and they were on Kathy's side last year, she felt like Dorit was also siding with Kathy because she wants the approval of the audience. So Dorit's like, what are you talking about, Kyle? I don't even pay attention to what people say. Like, I don't care about any of that. That's not true. Now, mind you, I watched the extended version on Peacock, right? So Kyle says, well, last year at BravoCon, when somebody asked that rude question about Teddy, you didn't say anything. So they showed the clip of our fave, Alexander Rogers, go up and ask Kyle the question about why do you insist on thrusting Teddy upon us? Stop trying to make fetch happen. Kyle got angry. Kyle was livid. Now, y'all know I was at BravoCon. When that moment happened, I was screaming because I already knew that when Alex got up to that mic, he was about to show out, and he did. That was a moment. So Kyle says, I was upset, Erika was upset, even Annemarie was upset, and they all stuck up for Teddy, and you just sat there, you didn't say anything because you wanted the audience's approval. So now Dorit is irritated, and she says, wait, so now it's my fault because I didn't defend one of your friends? Is that what this is? So Dorit goes on to say that the reason why she didn't say anything at BravoCon because she wasn't trying to indulge this person with their rude and vile remarks. Now, let's stop for a minute, right? I understand that Teddy is your friend, but don't try to demonize Alex by saying that his question was rude and vile. It was not that deep, okay? We know what rude and vile is. You have Erika calling people a see you next Tuesday all day long. So let's not sit up here and talk about, oh, that question was just so rude and vile. There is a collective understanding that Teddy was a boring housewife and we don't want her back on the show. That's the consensus. And y'all are still panini pressed because for you to still be talking about what Alex said several months later says a lot. Alex, you did that. So Dorit and Kyle keep going back and forth, and we end it with Kyle saying, again, Dorit, I think that you want to be on the side of the audience. And Dorit says, Kyle, that's the most hysterical thing I've ever heard. And that's where we close it out. Now, I thought that the first part was entertaining. I was here for it. I think that Crystal stole the show. She definitely had the best moments because the way she read Miss Dorit Kemsley down, I loved every minute of it. She held her own against Annemarie as well. I loved. I said, Crystal, I really think that you solidified your spot for next season. I think that Crystal is here to stay. She said, oh no, we don't have time to play. We don't have time to waste. I'm here to show up and show out. And she did. But y'all, that was my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.